The keys to success are no secret. Hard work, preparation, and determination separate the best from the good. From coast to coast, this passion unites elite players into a brotherhood of shared success.
Our sport's changed dramatically. What goes into becoming a great player today is different.
It's these qualities that will lead today's lacrosse youth onto the next level, where they'll have the opportunity to prove that their countless hours of training and practice were crucial to their success. These athletes are the new pioneers of our growing sport.
My fear is being one-dimensional. I want to be able to do everything, I want to be versatile.
I think about working that hard. You know, I want to be as good as I can be.
They're developing that skill set.
Tireless hours, shooting and dodging. Those are the kind of kids that'll make it.
It's with these traits that they will always be prepared for what the future holds for them. Undeniable, the road to the Under Armour All-America Game.
Just gonna have him shoot over this cage just to get his arms away from his body. So he's gonna shoot over this one into that one. Try to snap it down so we're getting high to low shots. Snap your wrist. Better, better. There you go, there you go. I like overhand. I like overhand on the run. He wants to be great, you know, as talented as he is. You know, his work ethic supersedes that. I mean, he's worked very hard to get where he is.
So we work on footwork, we work on my offhand, my left hand, time and rim shooting, shooting on the run, inside finishing, ground balls, transitional things, moving the ball, offensive sets, literally everything.
Let's get these next 5, just redodge, split, redodge, and then go. No cones, so just hit that redodge. Imagine the slide coming back up and go again. Just make sure you're popping out, popping back. There you go, there you go.
The saying that hard work beats talent is completely true.
You're good, you're good. Just keep
There's
shooting.
guys out there that work 10 times harder than some of the most talented guys.
Grab some water, we'll do the star.
And then talented guys ride the pine. It's about the little things, the GBs, clearing the ball. Things like that, the intangibles that really, when you bear down the game, are the things that make champions and make teams successful.
In 2003, Coach John Zissi, a 3-time All-American lacrosse player at Tufts University, moved to California to pursue his passion for teaching and coaching.
I was Jake's middle school teacher, 7th grade, taught him for 7th and 8th grade. You know, he was in my social studies class, struggling a little bit. I said, you know, let's make a deal. I need you to play lacrosse.
And I remember Jake coming home, mentioning to me, saying, I'm not going to play that little stick sport. He was kind of poking fun of it.
He said, you can just play one practice, just try, and I distinctly remember saying, I'll play your stupid sport for one day.
So Jake came out, and I think it was the first time Jake had really struggled with anything.
I was terrible. I was one of the worst guys on the team.
He's such a gifted athlete that football and basketball came so naturally. I think he was intrigued at something that he wasn't instantly good at.
Coming from such a competitive background, that's what drew me to the sport so quickly. I wanted to do better, and I wanted to be the best, and I wanted to excel, and I could not figure it out for, months.
He never put the stick down. He was always carrying it around, cradling it. Everywhere he went, there was pieces of cross sticks all over the house, and I kind of knew at that point that he was sold, and I was happy about that because he never ever complained about going to practice or having games. He was always excited about, I think, the new challenge that lacrosse provided.
I think he was trying to blaze his own trail and a new trail, and lacrosse was new, and very soon Jake became good and it became his sport. Last year was the first year the West really made an impact. We finished 5th out of 10, which is still, it's a step in the right direction, and I think we caught a lot of attention. So we beat Long Island, which is a huge victory for us, and fell just short to New England team that I think went on to the finals. Jake was a big part of that. He had the game-winning goal in the Long Island game in overtime, and really set the stage for him to come back this year, and hopefully he plays well. So, honestly, the game Saturday, this weekend, should be your tune-up for Under Armour game. Because A, you've been hurt, and B, it'll set the tone for how you're going to play in that game. I mean, it's all your buddies, so it's going to be fun, but yeah, it's important that you represent yourself, obviously.
Yeah, definitely.
You got a lot to prove. I mean,
oh, yeah.
Bottom line, it's important that you do well, because A lot of haters out there.
I don't know, I kind of want to show that like I can play more than just transition, you know?
But I mean,
All my
teams aren't going to be,
6-on-6
they're not going to be sliding to you early. They're not going to be shutting off. It's just going to be like a normal game for you, which will be good.
Community for West Coast lacrosse just in general is really, really tight. Naturally, we just kind of bond in that way that we are constantly the underdogs. It's not like an East-West thing, it's just that we feel that we have something to prove.
I think generalizations that probably we have the best athletes. I think the coaching is a little bit behind the East Coast.
So these athletes, these tremendous athletes who used to come to us as athletes but not skilled players, are developing that skill set.
Over the last 10 years, the development's been staggering. It's definitely the fastest growing sport out here. People are playing year-round, and it's insane out here too, starting as young as first grade. I think aside from the depth, it's not a whole lot different than the East Coast at this point.
They're quickly becoming a big part of the landscape in Division I lacrosse. He speaks to exactly what I'm talking about. And I think he's a pretty special athlete and an awful talented player.
My fear is being one-dimensional, just my competitive nature.
Undeniable, the road to the Under Armour All-America Game. Presented by Corrigan Sports Enterprises. Events from conception to fruition. Produced by Jalbert Productions International.
Out on that field is one thing. Immortality, boys. And there's no one who deserves it more than us. Big history tonight, boys.
Baltimore's always been a hotbed. You're almost born with a lacrosse stick in your hand. You go into your high school scene where the MIAA may be the best conference top to bottom, game to game in the nation with schools like Boys Latin.
Boys Latin is a perennial lacrosse powerhouse in the MIAA. The school has a history of producing top-tier lacrosse players in the Baltimore area.
The game plan all year long was you stop Shack Stanwick, you have a pretty good chance of stopping Boys Latin. No one was able to stop Shack Stanwick.
In 2013, Shack helped lead the team to a 16-0 record, but they failed to secure the championship.
He has a tremendous skill set, but I think the thing that really stands out for me is what a great job he does allowing the game to come to him and making everybody around him better by doing that.
In 2014, things would be different. Shack led Boys Latin to an incredible 18-0 record. Capping the season off with an MIAA championship victory over St. Paul's.
He not only showed why he's the #1 recruit from a talent and performance standpoint, but I also think a leadership standpoint. That was his team this year. For them to come out on top undefeated and him to be the best player hands down in the area, maybe in the country, I think speaks to his prowess.
When they were young, we would play catch. And eventually it was like, you know, I can only catch so many balls. I've got stuff to do. I've got to cut the grass, you know, but maybe you might want to start throwing against the wall.
The wall was first introduced by Mr. Stanwick to allow his children to hone their skills and practice rain or shine.
He just came out here, he measured out 6 by 6, painted it on. It's uneven a little bit, so it'll give you some bad passes and help us all work on catching it in awkward places, some stuff that you're gonna do in games. You know, the more you practice, the more comfortable you're gonna feel with your stick. And the more comfortable you feel with your stick, the better you're gonna be. When you're out on the field, you're trying to make those quick decisions. You don't have to worry about what you're gonna do with your stick because your mind already makes that up before you even do it. It's so important to have two hands in lacrosse. I'm a lefty, so I do 2 times the amount of righties that I do lefties. That's kinda just so I can get that right hand as good as my left hand.
The beauty of this thing was that you can play any time of the year. And it just got the kids out of the house, got them some exercise, and improved their skills.
I would time dinner around him, you know, and he would say, well, now I need 30 minutes, I'm going out to the wall. And I would be ready to serve, and I'd say, well, you're going out to the wall. I reheat more than I cook, so.
Probably around like 5th or 6th grade. Instead of watching TV, I got out here. It was kind of like something to clear my head a little bit. At the same time, you're getting better, and you're just doing it because you love the game.
It's my dad. He's got that kind of brain that knows what it takes to be good at something. He thought you need to practice the way you play. And then the repetition has been huge, I think, in terms of getting everyone's hand-eye coordination. It stemmed from him. Obviously, he can't make you do the workout, so everyone else had the drive to get out there and play.
With the Stanwick family, it's unbelievable the level at which they play and the consistency from one child to the next. You know, it starts with Sheehan, the All-American at Georgetown, one of the best ever. Now you're talking about Shack, and the potential that he has could really make an impact at Johns Hopkins University. And then you take the 6 in between, and they're just as good as, if not better, than the 2 bookends. The Stanwick's wall in the garage has become legendary. That's where the kids get their start. That's where the groundwork's putting in the hard work against the wall, developing a right hand, developing a left hand, quick releases, accuracy, pinpoint passing, those kinds of things. This kind of goes back to being old school. Look at the sticks that the boys use, traditional pocket. I don't think the traditional has been in vogue now for the last 10, 12 years. You know, it's really an old school feel to the way they go about their business and the way they play the game.
For the Stanwicks, lacrosse is a family passion. All 7 of Shack's siblings have played Division I collegiate lacrosse and have earned an array of accolades in recognition of their amazing talent.
It's more challenging today to step on a field and have an impact. What goes into becoming a great player today is different. Talked about Shack, and I've been watching him for years, not in organized lacrosse, but out on our field.
I want to be as good as I can be. On those days where it's like rainy or crappy weather, I try and get out there, go shoot, probably hit the wall. Right now, for this summer, I want to become a lot stronger. I'm going to be going against guys that are going to be a lot taller, bigger, faster, stronger than me. Continue to work on important stuff in my game, stick skills, shooting, stuff like that to work on the whole summer, so a lot ahead of me.
The level of work ethic that a young man has to have, I think some are surprised when they get to Division I level. He's just had an outstanding career, and we certainly are excited to welcome what we think is a great kid, a hard worker, and a skill set that will certainly help our program.
If he works the way he's worked throughout his high school career and he stays on track, he could be the next great Hopkins attackman.
For me, the ocean's always just been, like, it's just been right there. There's so many things to do. It's like the biggest free playground ever. So I really grew up there. I grew up close to the ocean wherever we lived. One of the biggest things that I did with my dad before he passed away was he surfed and I surfed, and we spent hours in the water. And like, I mean, we would be in there from 8 to 12, get out, eat, back in the water. It's a great place to kind of get away from everything.
Jake's been in the spotlight since a young age, but Jake loved his dad. They're very similar. Jake shows leadership and charisma and signs of a role model in all facets of things, but to also handle as much adversity as he's had to handle at such a young age and still be that guy is pretty impressive. It wasn't easy. You know, he's a very old soul and a very mature kid, and he's had to grow up pretty quickly.
When Jake was 16, his father, Junior Seau, a California native and 10-time All-Pro NFL linebacker, passed away unexpectedly at the age of 43. After his death, Chargers president Dean Spanos described him as an icon in our community. He transcended the game. He wasn't just a football player. He was so much more.
Being a Seau, you know, like it's always expected, oh, he's gonna play football. And I thought the same thing because he was naturally talented.
He was playing Pop Warner football, and then in middle school he was playing flag football, and then of course in high school he's expected to play high school football, and even as a freshman he was playing varsity. And so that was always sort of a natural thing, you know, kind of grew up around it. It's part of our history of our family.
Football was always there for me, but I never really fell in love with the sport the way he did. And I think that's just the difference, is that I was around that sport so much and I grew up around it that I was kind of tired of it by the time, you know, I was 16. I'd spent 16 years living, breathing, eating football.
And when lacrosse came around, it was something that he wanted to do every day, and it wasn't like he had to drag his butt to practice and do sprints. Like, he wanted to get better. And that's something I hadn't seen from him before.
I always wanted him to play whatever his heart desired and whatever his passion was. I never, ever was the mother saying, no, you have to play football. This is in your genes. I always wanted him as a young kid to blaze his own trail. Even though Junior would love him to stay in football, I was really pleased with Jake and really proud of the progress he was making and seeing Jake's enthusiasm for the game.
For me, lacrosse was always it. I was looking forward to practice. I was looking forward to working, and I think that that's what made me realize that lacrosse was really the sport for me.
While Jake chose to follow a different passion, he still inherited several of his father's admirable traits.
He definitely saw his father's work ethic and being dedicated to a sport and your teammates and your coaches. I think that's very important in his growth, because anytime you're a successful athlete, it doesn't come easy. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of dedication, and I know he realizes that.
He was always in the weight room. He was always working. He was always watching film. He was always doing something to better himself at, his trade, which was football.
Jake's the same way. I mean, Jake never misses practice, never misses a lift. He's a born leader. People just naturally gravitate towards him, and he just controls the team or the room. And I think he's inherited that work ethic and leadership from his dad.
I think that's the sort of thing that you can't really teach or coach a kid. I think that desire and that work ethic and that passion, it has to come from within their heart and their soul and then their gut. They have to really want it. I know Junior didn't really understand all the ins and outs of lacrosse, but I know he was happy to see his son doing well and doing something he loved.
He's also a big pioneer for the West, and that kind of empowers him and drives him. He wants to pave the way for the younger guys below him.
I hope there's some opportunities out there for him to grow the game and to be a part of whatever it is. But, I'm a mom. I just want to see him happy and doing what he loves to do.
I can't really see not being involved in it in the future. I think that growing the sport in the West, the ball's already rolling. It's going to progress to the point that a roster full of 10, 15 West Coast guys for some of the big-time D1s isn't going to be weird.
He's excited about his future playing Duke in the next 4 years. I said to him, number one, you're going to school to get a great education so you can be a productive person in life and enjoy these 4 years. These are the last 4 years of lacrosse you may have. And he said, oh no, Mom, I'll be playing lacrosse forever.
Undeniable, the road to the Under Armour All-America Game. Presented by Corrigan Sports Enterprises. Events from conception to fruition. Produced by Jalbert Productions International.
Even though we were out there shooting, putting in the work, we were still always messing around, doing stuff. There was always times where you'd make fun of someone for shooting a certain way, or like when Shaq was younger, he would shoot and it was not going very fast, and we all would start laughing. We'd have to be like, you have to stop shooting because we can't get serious right now. A couple weeks ago, I scored a goal, and Steele and I were talking about it, and he was like, say goodbye to that. You'll never score that goal in college. Shaq's gonna learn next year from going from high school to college that every team's defender, they were their team's best defender in high school. They were a high school All-American. You're gonna have to have a short memory and be able to come back and, go against them again on that next play. And I think that's something that a lot of the really good players in college lacrosse have today.
This fall, Shaq will join his brother Wells, a senior at Johns Hopkins University. Wells is coming off a great season in which he led the Blue Jays in points.
It was a big part of my decision. Having a year with him at Boys Latin was really cool. And when I was looking at schools for college, I always thought it would have been a cool experience to play with him one more time. Ultimately, I love the school.
He really had great recruiting experiences everywhere he went. Everything was pretty much equal. Finally, he just said, well, I think it's going to be Hopkins. And, we didn't want to say, oh, that's fabulous, because now you'd be with Wells. We really wanted it to be his decision.
She and her younger sister, Wick, were teammates for 2 years at Georgetown University. The two experienced much success on the field.
There's a different relationship you can have with a sibling. It's kind of cliche, but you could read what the other person was going to do. It's a neat thing to watch. I hope I'll get to see them play a lot together.
We know how each other plays since our games are similar. If he's doing something, I can usually tell what he's going to do. I can react to it.
The Stanwick family has received All-American honors 15 times at the collegiate level.
The Stanwick family is a pretty interesting group. 8 kids, all Division I athletes, all, pretty talented and have competed at a very high level in their sport, whether it's men or women's lacrosse.
Really, the Stanwicks are the creme de la creme when it comes to the Baltimore genre, if you will, of lacrosse. The elegance, the stick work, the IQ.
It's just something you can't teach. Skills you can practice and you can work on. Shooting you can practice, dodging you can practice, but having that innate sense is something that's developed over years and years and years, and it appears they all seem to have it.
It's a family of excellence when it comes to being on the lacrosse field. Each of them seems to inspire the other, cultivate the other, really bring each other along. They're a tight-knit group, they're a tight-knit family. Each of them passes down their experience to help the other that's coming up.
The Stanwick children attribute much of their success to their parents' great support.
2 seasons ago, we had 100 games. We had 3 in college, and Shack was in high school. We played at Towson Town, so it was up and down Charles Street all week long.
She just supported us the whole way. You know, she was always at every game, always willing to take us to practice, pick us up, take us to games. All over the Eastern Seaboard. You know, she loves it too. She enjoys going to each game.
The secret is really my husband. He is focused on them. He doesn't play golf. He works on this house and on those kids, and he's available to them. He'll play at night after work. Sometimes he doesn't get home till 9 or 10. They'll say they want to work on something. He'll be right out there working with them.
No, I just want the kids to have fun doing what they like to do.
I think lacrosse was what made our relationship so strong. Every time we went out and shop, we'd go with him, just talk, kind of have some alone time. He cares so much about us and the game that he just wants to keep making us better. It's definitely made our relationship that much better.
Before every game, whoever is playing, at whatever level, we have a family text and they will all chime in, have a good game. They all are very aware of each other's schedules and what they're doing that day.
As he enters Johns Hopkins, expectations will be high for Shack to perform at a level synonymous with the Stanwick name.
You hear the name Stanwick, and right away, you have a bullseye on your back. Everybody wants to see if you're just as good as, if not better, than your siblings. I can't imagine what it's like to have 7 older brothers and sisters that have all played Division I lacrosse and have all done very, very well.
I think they've all had a bit of pressure. I don't like it, but they are used to it. But I think he will have pressure going into this as a freshman. I think he'll feel a little bit of the heat.
A lot of the Blue Jay faithful are hanging their hat on Shack Stanwick as being a leader, stepping on the field from day one and really contributing and getting the Blue Jays back to the national semifinals.
It definitely creeps in sometimes, but as a player, you got to forget it. You know, that's part of being mature and go out there and work a little harder.
The thing that amazes me, maybe more so than the fact that they've got tremendous ability, it's kind of people they are. You know, there's a word that we use a lot around our locker room, and it's humility. And, you know, mom and dad should be commended on how they raise their kids. All of them have a great sense of humility.
I've always tried to treat people how I would want to be treated, and, you know, that's something we've always instilled in our children. It's the golden rule, right?
You look at him, he's the #1 recruit according to Inside Lacrosse. He's an Under Armour All-American. He's just a guy who at every level has met the expectations and has exceeded the expectations. He's got a God-given gift and he's made the most of it and worked really hard to make himself the best he can be.
Looking forward to meeting all the guys that are going to Hopkins in my class. It's kind of something I've always wanted to do growing up. You know, to play there for 4 years and get one with my brother is something really cool.
Our sport's changed in so many ways. The expectations of these young men and young women now has changed. The level of work that's being put in by many of these young people today is dramatically different, at least than when I played.
It's a training regimen. It's a full-time job. These kids are working out constantly. They're physical specimens.
Basketball has always had the McDonald's All-American Game and football as the Under Armour All-American Game. We're showcasing our sport.
We'll be the best players, best seniors in the country. It puts an emphasis on how far the game's spread. You can see those guys that are from the different states that don't get the kind of press that Long Island schools or Maryland schools get.
I'd always been infatuated by, you know, the Under Armour senior game, and it's such an honor and it was such a privilege to be recognized in that way.
It's very competitive. Kids have a lot of pride for their regions and areas, and they're really competing to represent where they're from.
I've had the pleasure of calling 7 Under Armour All-American games, and I can tell you it is an event that is second to none. It is a real badge of honor to become an Under Armour All-American.
These All-American games give fans a chance to see players that are going to their school. They give fans an opportunity to kind of get a glimpse of what's to be for their team in the future and who's arriving on campus. For me as a coach, I got to tell you, I love the game. It gives me a chance to watch them against the best of the best of the best.